Hey everybody, okay, we have a juicy topic today. I'm talking about erotic energy. This is what I'm going to be talking about. My ideas about what erotic energy is, the three things that I do to cultivate it in my life. That's it. A few other things along the way, a few tangents. Let's do it. Okay. So, first of all, I specifically wore this hoodie. I have a new sweatsuit. It is gray. I am in love with it. It is, if I could wear it for the rest of my life, happiest girl in the world. And I wanted to do this video on erotic energy in a gray sweatsuit because I want to open up perhaps the perception that a lot of us grew up with and probably still have. I know I certainly can be pulled back into that wiring, is that erotic energy and sexuality looks a certain way. So maybe if I believed that, I would have shown up in this video and I would have been like all sexed out and done up and exuding this external projection of sexuality, which, by the way, I love doing. Got no problem with that. Love it, love it, love it. And what I am inviting you to think about is this idea that your erotic energy is there all the time. In the push-up bra, in the tight stuff, in the dressing up, in the taking the time, and in the not taking the time, in the bitchiness, in the gray sweatsuit. That it is immovable from daily life. It is intractable. I hope I use that word correctly. From how you live your life. It is not something that we earn through wearing certain things or believing certain things. It just is. It just is. And then it is up to us to make the choice. Is this something that I want to cultivate? Is this something that I'm curious about? Is this something that I want to explore? And that choice is yours. So erotic energy for me has to do with really a sense of aliveness and rightness in the world. There's lots of descriptions. This is just my description today. So it's about engaging with the world through the senses, sensuality. Yes, it's about a turned on life, this turned on energy in the body. Yes, it's about sexuality. Yes, it's just about like this hum, this purr, this sense of rightness in the body and rightness in the world. It's alive and it's hungry and it knows what it wants. Erotic energy knows what it wants. So, here's what happened to me when I got married and had kids. And if you are not married or in a long-term partnership and don't have kids, it doesn't matter because we all have come to places like this. When I got married, I realized that I had this idea that my partner would be the main source of my sexuality. And I actually did not really realize that in a way, it had been an idea that I had held for a long time, but because I had never had a partnership of the depth and the magnitude and the permanence of a marriage, I just really hadn't experienced it yet. What I had experienced in my previous life was an erotic life that was fueled by a lot of stuff. Going out dancing, dating, anticipation, lovers, wondering who I was going to meet that night. This is not to say that those weren't years that also had sense of loss and loneliness and yearning for what I didn't have inside of them. But my erotic energy got fed through a lot of different things. So let me just pop in turn the lens on you. What feeds your erotic energy? What feeds your sexuality? I realized that all the things that fed my sexuality were gone in marriage and motherhood. And now I was I imagine myself in this very linear relationship where my sexuality happened between myself and my partner. It was like the space in between the two of us. Anybody who has experienced a long-term relationship, do you know what happens? You stop having sex sometimes. You don't have sex sometimes. Somebody's sick, you're not having sex. Somebody's stressed, you're not having sex. Both of you are stressed, you're not having sex. You're pissed at each other, you're not having sex. Unless you're having angry sex, which I think is kind of hot. But there are lots of times where we're not connecting in that way. And I realized that if I put all my sexual energy into what happened between me and my partner, in my case, it's my husband, then I had no control over it, that there would be times when it had no avenue, it had no expression because we weren't having sex. And I just did not like that at all. So I started to think of a different identity that I had of myself as a sexual woman within marriage. Erotic mother, being erotic within motherhood is a whole other thing. Equally juicy, we'll do it another time. I wanted to cultivate an identity that put me at the center of my sexual life. It wasn't in the hands of anybody else. It wasn't being dictated by anybody else. In fact, my true desire was that I wanted to feel that anything that happened between me and my husband was icing on the cake. Not the main game. I was the main game. I was the cake. What happened between us was the icing. So then I started to think of this idea of a wagon wheel. So if you can imagine what a wagon wheel looks like. So we have the center. Ooh, if I had a whiteboard, that would be really cool. We have the center, and then we have spokes that go out from the center to the rim of the wheel. This is the shape that I imagined that my erotic life had. And that circle in the center was me. And the spokes going out from the center to the rim were all of the ways that my erotic energy got fed, got nourished. All of the things that turned me on with that sense of aliveness. And my partner, my husband, was just one spoke. So say you have 10 spokes. I don't know how many spokes are on a traditional wagon wheel. Say 10 spokes. One of those, imagine, just imagine. Let's play with our imaginations and see what titillates us. Imagine that out of those 10 spokes, one of those spokes is what happens between you and your partner. But 9 others are ones that happen outside of that. And I'm not speaking of outside of the relationship, although that could be your story. I'm talking about your partner just being one place of many where you feed your aliveness, where you feed your sensuality, your erotic energy. Okay. So, I'm going to fast forward to the 3 things that I want to talk about. I've already covered 2 of them. One is I am at the center. That was a big shift. My partnership is not at the center of my sexuality. My partner is not at the center of my sexuality. I am at the center. I am at the center. Number 2, there is a wheel. There's lots of things that feed me. My partner is just one. And then the third philosophy that I've used to keep my erotic energy alive and evolving and healthy and juicy and yummy is to keep everything open, to have this living, breathing, inhale, exhale, awareness, openness to all of those spokes, which really means that I'm aware, I'm paying attention, and I feed and nourish those spokes. So would be a really fun experiment for you to do, a little exercise. So on a piece of paper, Draw that wagon wheel. You're in the center and you got all these spokes. Say we choose 10 spokes. You might only have 6. It's perfect. One of them is your partner, so you can fill up that spoke, right? Partner on it, or lovers, or whatever's happening in your life. And then what would the other spokes be filled by? What would go there? And you know what's so cool? If you're thinking to yourself, I have no freaking idea. I have no freaking idea. Oh my God, I'm erotically dead because I have no spokes. I have no ideas. No, you're just at this really super delicious, yummy place where you get to see, you get to explore and discover what those other spokes are. You just get to expand. If you only have one spoke filled out on your wagon wheel and it's your partner, all you can go is up. The only place you can go is more, which is so exciting. Let me share my spokes currently. Fantasy is a huge spoke of mine. And there was a time when I thought to myself, I'm in this long-term relationship. I'm in this marriage. Shouldn't all of my needs be satisfied by this one person? For me, no. Fantasies, I love fantasies. Amazing, so fun, they feed me. 2, sensuality. That is huge for me, sensuality. So for me, what that means is keeping myself sensually alive with things that bring me pleasure. My hot baths, my the things that I like to eat and drink, and just letting those things turn me on. Smell is huge for me. Letting smells turn me on. Letting my aliveness be fed by sensuality. Touch, all of it. Music and dancing. I have been pretty deep in the study of feminine movement, sensual movement, emotional movement for the past decade. And it is a huge place for my sexuality to be expressed, explored, expanded, played with. Incredible. That's a huge spoke of mine. Self-pleasuring. Self-pleasuring. Huge for me, because if I imagine that I am at the center, then actually my exploration of myself and the way that I get turned on and the way that I respond to self-pleasuring is like one of my sweetest pleasures. Self-pleasuring is one of my spokes. Memories. Memories, going down memory lane. I love that. Thinking about my sexual life before, thinking about all of my experiences, my adventures, my lovers, and seeing them not as places of grief because they are gone, although I have experienced grief over those, but as places where I get to recognize and celebrate my sexuality. Impulses. This is, I've done a theme on this, body impulses and body aliveness. What I mean by this is following my impulses. So that means that if in the middle of the day, I feel turned on and I want to do some self-pleasuring, I will almost always leave anything, dishes, work, anything, and follow that impulse because I know it's sacred. And I know if I shut it down once and I shut it down twice, it gets quieter and quieter and quieter. And if I say yes to it in whatever way I can, if I say yes to it, it keeps on calling me. Following impulses is a spoke of mine. And then another spoke of mine is learning about sex, reading about sex, talking about sex, watching documentaries on sex, the study of sex and sexuality and sensuality. I'm super keen. Taking courses, that's another spoke of mine that really fills me up. What are your spokes? And if you don't know, how awesome. I'm excited for you. And spokes change. My spokes will change. This is what they are right now, in this moment, today. I don't know what they are tomorrow. Part of what I love to do is stay connected to what is true for me. So these are the 3 things that I do to cultivate and to live in erotic energy in my gray sweatsuit. One is claiming that identity that I am at the center of my sexuality. Huge, powerful, essential for me. Two, to know that there is a wheel and that my partner is one of those spokes. I'll tell you the other thing about your partner being one. Takes the pressure off them and takes the resentment off of you. If we think that, if we believe, if we have the story that our sexual energy and our sexual aliveness is the responsibility of our partner, or only happens within that context, then when anything goes wrong, we can get super resentful, super disappointed, and really put unfair pressure and unfair responsibility on our partner. So that's the gift of also having all the spokes. You're like, oh, we're not having sex right now? Cool, wish we were. And when we get back to whatever we do, I'll be grateful. But I got other spokes, babe. You're not my only spoke. Thank goodness. Otherwise, I could be dry for a week, for months, for years. Number 3, keep it open and feed it. Become aware, ask questions, get curious, follow the impulses, make time for it, keep it open, and feed it. That's what I have for you today. In the comments below, so love to hear. What does erotic energy mean to you? What are you discovering about it? What was an aha, an insight, a moment during this video where you thought, those sweet spots. What were your sweet spots during this video? Your realizations. In the comments below, share with me. I always love to hear from you guys. Thank you so much. From my erotic energy to yours.